Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 20 video game urban legends. For this list, we'll be looking at the most tantalizing mysteries, myths, and falsehoods surrounding video games. If there's an urban legend you think should be here, let us know about it in the comments below. Number 20. The Cow Dimension, Diablo.
Sometimes I think that Cain talks too much, but I guess that's his calling in life.
It's funny to think about the origins for some sillier urban legends. In the original Diablo, a rumor spread about a secret cow level that could be accessed by clicking on a certain cow in Tristram a certain number of times. The level was said to be populated by anthropomorphic cow enemies, but no such level ever actually existed. At first, the myth became so widespread that Blizzard ended up putting a secret cow level in the game's sequel. Blizzard also referenced it in many other releases, such as in one of the cheat codes for StarCraft. Number 19. Lara Croft Nude Code, Tomb Raider.
This used to be the ballroom, but I've converted it into my own personal gym. I don't actually run everywhere.
Gamers were pretty immature in the 90s. Well, a lot of us can still be pretty immature. Regardless, a widespread rumor revolving around one of gaming's leading ladies stated you could get her to adventure without any clothes on.
Let's go for a swim. The jump button and the directions move me around underwater.
Of course, there never was any codes that got Lara to undress, but it was prominent enough to catch the attention of the developers, who included a sassy response at the end of the game's sequel. According to co-creator Paul Douglas, this legend could have turned into fact if someone higher up in management had asked the development team to include such a code. But we're grateful they refused.
Right, now I'd better take off these wet clothes.
Number 18. The Fetus from Hell, Earthbound. The main antagonist of this SNES classic, Gygus, is disturbing in many ways, but one of the ways in which he is not was the subject of a popular urban legend. Some players believed that the area leading to his final fight resembled a woman's cervix, while the boss himself looked like a fetus. This led many to claim that Earthbound was a veiled anti-abortion message. In reality, creator Shigesato Itoi based Gygus on a childhood experience of accidentally walking into the wrong theater and witnessing a violent murder scene. Some players just had creative imaginations. Number 17. Saddam and the PS2.
If you haven't heard by now, it's PlayStation 2 coming to North America in the fall of 2000.
The PlayStation 2 was an impressively powerful console upon release, though some believed it capable of far more. Not long after its launch, a rumor began to spread that Saddam Hussein, president of Iraq at the time, was collecting thousands of PS2s. The reason? To combine them into a supercomputer able to perform advanced military operations.
We would go from 300 polygons for bike and rider combination to somewhere from 2,000 to 3,000.
Yes, that is incredibly silly, and most of us at the time knew the urban legend to be just what it was. Nonetheless, it still became fairly widespread among certain news outlets.
The ultimate just got better.
Number 16. Sonic.exe, Sonic the Hedgehog. Several gaming urban legends begin with someone receiving a cursed used copy of a game. The story here followed creepypasta wiki user JC the Hyena, who claimed to have gotten a CD-ROM titled Sonic.exe from a friend in 2011. Only when he began to play, he found that a more demonic, red-eyed Sonic would chase Tails and other characters through the levels. More disturbing imagery was seen throughout, like dead animals and seeing the characters murdered by the villainous hedgehog. The creepypasta evolved over time and gained such a following that a fan-made game was actually created the following year. Number 15. Ryu's Master. Street Fighter II: The World Warrior.
Their path is a righteous one. How I look forward to our reunion.
One of Ryu's victory lines in the original Street Fighter II read, "You must defeat Shenlong to stand a chance." Many players assumed Shenlong was a hidden character and Ryu's master.
Ryu and Ken must presume me to be dead. It matters not.
But the line was actually a mistranslation. In the Japanese version, Ryu would say, "If you cannot overcome the Shoryuken, you cannot win." However, a 1992 April Fool's Day joke on how to face Shenlong from Electronic Gaming Monthly was spread by many other publications as fact. This prompted players to try the method to no avail. The myth of Shenlong is ingrained in the series now, with Street Fighter IV's Gouken, Ryu's real mentor, being a direct reference to Shenlong.
So you've sensed the Satsui no Hado. Hey, brother.
Number 14. Shadowplay. Luigi's Mansion. Despite being set in a haunted house packed with ghosts, Luigi's Mansion is still pretty lighthearted. But there is one sinister moment that many players picked up on. At a certain point, the mansion's power goes out, yet strangely, Luigi will then hear a phone ringing and answer it to speak with Toad. During this conversation, a lightning flash casts Luigi's shadow on the wall, giving the haunting appearance of him hanging. The urban legend states that Luigi died at some point, apparently by suicide, and is himself a ghost without realizing it. It's really just a lighting glitch, but it's a highly imaginative theory all the same. Number 13. A Walk Through Hell. Sad Satan. In 2015, YouTube channel Obscure Horror Corner claimed to have been sent a deep web link to a game called Sad Satan from an anonymous subscriber. The mostly black and white game was essentially a walking simulator where the player would be constantly confronted with disturbing imagery and distorted audio, such as interviews with different murderers. However, no one knows if the story behind Sad Satan is real. The gameplay was last uploaded to the channel, and no one knows what happened to the owner. Some believe they created Sad Satan to get more views, but it took on a life of its own, receiving its own subreddit and game clones. Number 12. The Lost Twisted Metal. Twisted Metal Head On Extra Twisted Edition. When Twisted Metal Head On was ported from PSP to PS2, it came with some nifty bonus features. One of them was titled Twisted Metal Lost, a cancelled sequel to Twisted Metal Black. However, your playthrough began with an explanation as to why it was cancelled. Apparently, 6 of the game's developers were killed in a plane crash. 2 years later, a letter showed up at Sony's offices begging the work to be released and signed by the 6 deceased developers. Prior to release, director David Jaffe stated there was a nugget of truth to it, but that the real story had been embellished. Regardless, the urban legend did lend some interesting spookiness to the game. Number 11. Like It Never Existed. Kill Switch. According to legend, Kill Switch was an old computer game where players could either play as Gast, an invisible demon, or a girl named Porto. It was said to have been developed by a Czechoslovakian company called Karvina Corporation, and that only 5,000 copies were ever created. Adding to the mysticism was the fact that, upon completion, Kill Switch would delete itself from your PC. In reality, the legend was lifted from an obscure short story of the same name by Catherine M. Valenti. Fan-made versions have since been made, and we have to admit, a self-deleting game does make for a great urban legend. Number 10. Paul's Playthrough. Petscop. In 2017, a Let's Play series began documenting a supposedly long-lost, unreleased PlayStation game called Petscop. The puzzle game initially revolved around the main character collecting strange pets, but as Paul, the player, continued on, he found evidence and references to a real-world crime.
I think if I were to restart my console right now, I would not be able to find this again.
The crime in question revolved around a man named Marvin who kidnapped his own daughter, believing her to be his childhood friend reincarnated. The entire series, which is comprised of 24 videos, is impressively elaborate, and while the creator has come out to say it was all staged, it was still one hell of a ride. Number 9. The Sasquatch. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas.
But him and the homeboy Bear, they good to have on our side.
One of gaming's most well-known myths revolves around a real one. Not long after the release of San Andreas, word began to spread of the existence of Bigfoot in-game, specifically within the hills of Back O Beyond. Players stated they'd seen something resembling the enigmatic creature at night, though he'd vanished before they could get a good look.
Oh, man.
There was never any definitive proof of the Sasquatch's existence in the game, and Rockstar denied it. We'd later go searching for a similar strange creature dubbed Ratman in Grand Theft Auto 4, when a blurry image began circulating online.
Shit, that's the truth.
Number 8. The Spectres of Shiverburn Galaxy. Super Mario Galaxy 2. Like all of Mario's adventures, Super Mario Galaxy 2 is full of whimsy. But there's one strange image that has been perplexing us for years. By going into the first-person view and looking at the background of Shiverburn Galaxy, you can see a group of shadowy figures in the distance. Digging through the game's code reveals these specters are called Hell Valley Sky Trees, whatever that means. Nintendo has never given an explanation as to who or what these figures are. That hasn't stopped fans from speculating, of course, but we'll likely never get a definitive answer. Number 7. Squall is Dead Theory. Final Fantasy VIII. Final Fantasy VIII was so gigantic at the time of release, it had to be printed on 2 discs. Its size has actually helped lead to an incredibly popular fan theory. At the end of Disc 1, protagonist Squall is stabbed by Idea. and at the beginning of Disc 2, he awakens with no wound. The theory states that Squall died in between discs, and that the second half is actually his dying dream. Fans have compiled mountains of evidence to support the theory, such as the latter half's much more surreal nature. Director Yoshinori Kitase has debunked the theory, saying that Squall receives a non-fatal wound to the shoulder, but the theory has nonetheless persisted amongst fans. Number 6. Herobrine, Minecraft. If a chaotic, white-eyed copy of your character suddenly appeared in your game, you'd probably be pretty creeped out. The myth of Herobrine states that a near-identical copy of Steve would randomly appear in the worlds of some players. He'd allegedly build strange structures, some of which should have been impossible, like leafless trees and blocks with rounded edges. Creator Marcus Notch Person has consistently stated no such entity exists, though Herobrine has now become a fun in-joke for developer Mojang Studios. Some update logs will state Herobrine removed among its changes. Number 5. The Madden Curse, Madden NFL Series. When something bad happens once, it's an unfortunate incident. When it happens again, a strange coincidence. But when it happens more than a dozen times, that's how you reach spooky urban legend status. Ever since Garrison Hurst appeared on the European cover of Madden NFL 99 and then suffered a horrendous ankle injury soon after, the Madden Curse has followed the game series around.
On third down, Bradford toward the sideline.
Multiple athletes have appeared on covers having received injuries, such as Patriots tight end Rob Gronkowski. He appeared on the cover of Madden NFL 17 before suffering injuries to his hamstring, back, and chest throughout the 2016 season.
But missing that shot. Yeah, especially at this spot in the field. He's got to be upset he couldn't come up with that INT. And this is intercepted, and that should do it.
Number 4. The Numbers Station, Fallout 3.
9, 3, 7, 9, 1.
Any urban legend that revolves around a game predicting the future is bound to be a bit eerie. For Fallout 3, a creepypasta began circulating around Galaxy News Radio. It stated that if you killed the station's host, 3Dog, the station would then start listing numbers and bits of Morse code in between music.
2, 4, 1, 6, 1, 2.
Fans interpreted the codes and found several unsettling predictions, such as actor Gary Coleman's death and the BP oil spill, both of which happened 2 years after the game's release. As interesting as it sounds, there's no truth to the Numbers Station. Other predictions, like Queen Elizabeth II dying in 2014, were obviously false, and Bethesda denied the existence of any such secret messages.
0, 2, 7, English.
Number 3. Ben Drowned, The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. As one of the creepiest games in the Zelda series, it makes sense that Majora's Mask has an appropriately creepy urban legend. The story follows a guy who picked up a used copy of the game at a garage sale. Upon playing, he was met with a twisted, buggy version of the game. He was also constantly followed by previous owner Ben, represented by an unsettling Link statue, who he would soon discover drowned and haunted the game. The entire story was, of course, fabricated, but it was one of the internet's most famous creepypastas, and we can barely even touch on the wild directions this story takes. Number 2. Lavender Town Syndrome, Pokémon Red and Green. Lavender Town is already a pretty unsettling place with its massive tower, a burial site for Pokémon. It also has some of the most unnerving music in any video game, which still gives us goosebumps all these years later. It's this music that has led to one of the most famous gaming legends. The myth goes that when the games were originally released in Japan, certain tones were implemented in Lavender Town's theme that made children commit suicide. There has never been any evidence to back this up, but with music as spine-chilling as this, it's not hard to imagine how someone could have come up with the story.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure to go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1. The Phantom Arcade Cabinet, Polybius. While it's likely that Polybius never existed, there's really no way to be certain, considering it was said to have appeared in the early arcade days. The legend states that the then new game popped up in Portland, Oregon, and became addictingly popular. However, this was by design. The story also states that shady men in black would visit the arcades, collecting data of the game's impact on players. Obsessive players were said to experience a multitude of negative side effects, including hallucinations and seizures. A month after appearing, Polybius was gone. We can't help but want to know everything about it, as even the origin year of the urban legend is contested.
In the mood for more awesome gaming content? Be sure to check out this video here on Mojo Plays. And don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.